pitching participants, but I would like to invite Davina to add some words here.
Great, Deepti, thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. This is a really exciting part of the process. You've been putting in a tremendous amount of hard work, and I recognize a number of names and faces from seeing you a couple steps along this journey. And now is the time to celebrate and bask in what you've learned and what you're able to share with the community. I want to highlight just one or two things in particular. I recognize also a lot of faces from our Stanford Rebuild initiative already, a year and a half ago, and prior to that. And one of the things that we found in the needs finding that we did, that using the process that we teach you in Stanford Embark, was that for many people around the world, and we clearly have a global community here today, really the only access that people had to learning about entrepreneurship was via the internet. And when you get on the internet and type in the word entrepreneurship or any derivative, you will see that you are overwhelmed with responses and resources and web pages that you can go to. And so one of our key insights was aspiring entrepreneurs were really looking for a curated set of resources from a trusted source so they knew what steps they really needed to take. And that is what drove the creation of Stanford Embark. What we learned along that process, and the other half of what the Stanford Rebuild Innovation Sprint was about, was that just working in an asynchronous environment, so you on your own time frame with a curriculum, is not enough. And that's where I'm really grateful to Lisa and what they've done with this program. They provide that whole ecosystem. They provide cohorts, they provide mentors, they provide people for you to check in with and help you along the process. That is so important to the work that you are doing. You know that there are wins and celebrations, and that there are the deepest lows and frustrations, and that didn't go the way that you had hoped, or you can't believe that it turned out that way. And then if any of you who actually have launched anything, oh my gosh, funding, anything like that, right? And those ups and downs can happen in a single day. And that is why it is so important to have this community around you. So I want to call that out. I want to make sure that we all express our gratitude and appreciation to Edward and Deepti and the whole founding team. I'm not going to name everybody, but take this moment as a time. This is one of those wins and celebrations, and that is so important to do during your entrepreneurial process. And you're not doing it alone, you're doing it with a cohort of people here. So with that, enjoy today, and I will pass it back.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Yes, my name is Jeff Prickett. I'm Global Director for Stanford Seed, which means I am involved in the management operations of our programs, which are currently being run in South Asia and Africa. And thanks to Edward and Deepti for reaching out to me. I must admit there's so much going on at Stanford and at the Graduate School of Business, it's hard to keep up with everything. I was actually unaware of Lisa myself until we met last week and discussed it. I was aware of LEAD and of course, Davina, it's great to see you and hear about what the Lisa team is doing with Embark. I'll touch on that a little bit because we've also taken the next steps. And of course, I was really excited to hear that some of our network members from the Seed Transformation Program are taking part in LEAD. And Lisa, Frank Cadio from Burkina. Bonjour, Frank. It's good to see that a lot of people are connecting with each other across the different programs. So I'm going to talk a little bit today just about Stanford Seed. I don't know how many you're aware of what we do and how long we've been operating. And that's what we discussed last week, Deepti and Edward. So let me get started. I'm going to pull up my presentation here. There we go. And there's a picture of some of our beautiful entrepreneurs from West Africa. Let's see here, there we go. Okay, so Stanford Seed was founded in 2011. At the time, our dean of the business school, Gar Sloaner, a native of South Africa, actually, and Robert and Dorothy King came together with a vision to really harness what Stanford and the Graduate School of Business do and take them out into developing economies to increase the level of prosperity and also bring the world back to Stanford. And we'll talk about that a little bit today. So our vision, harnessing what Bob and Dorothy and Garth talked about initially, is to leverage entrepreneurship and the general management principles that are taught at the business school to help contribute to ending the cycle of global poverty by increasing the number of opportunities and the funding available for entrepreneurs in emerging markets. So we partner in doing so with entrepreneurs in emerging markets to try to build thriving enterprises that transform lives. And this is a picture of one of our entrepreneurs, Linda Ampa, who has a tailoring business. They make all sorts of beautiful attire in Ghana. And our theory of change is really in partnering with business leaders. We take the content like Embark and what is taught at LEAD here, and we carry that into the world. Some of that is taught by Stanford faculty. We also have our own staff on the ground in India, Kenya, Ghana, and Botswana who work with the leaders and the teams of the firms of our program to make this high-touch training and really make it practically applicable to the companies, and so that they can apply those to their businesses and grow their business and make them perform more effectively in carrying out what they do in terms of product and service delivery. We do, I want to mention, have some earlier stage programs. Our flagship program is the Seed Transformation Program, which I'll touch on mainly today. But we have taken Embark, and Davina, I think you know this, and we are running Seed Spark now in South Asia. We're running 2 cohorts of about 200 entrepreneurs a year based currently in Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh. And we're also starting a prototype in Senegal right now and French West Africa. So a lot of exciting things. So we'll have to touch base and talk about that. We're also collaborating with the Africa Management Institute to collaborate with them on a program that kind of touches those companies that would feed into our Seed Transformation Program. So always a lot going on at Stanford and at Seed as well.
Joseph, did you rope someone?
I think we have to mute someone there. I can hear someone.
You can unmute yourself, Jeff. Now I muted everyone.
Thank you. On it. Getting good at this Zoom thing, I think. So the Seed Transformation Program, pardon me, I didn't edit out the new photo that we need to change there at the title. So what we're focused on here, and this is what we started in 2013 in West Africa, and have since then expanded to East Africa, Southern Africa, and South Asia, is really looking for high potential leaders of SMEs. And we'll talk about what that is. And it's a 12-month program where it's previously was being done in person. Sometimes the leaders come together. Other times we go out to the companies and work with the leaders and teams themselves. We're currently doing it all online, but we hope with the next cohort to begin reintroducing a hybrid program. And it's really about training leaders and teams to scale their businesses. And this is kind of an outline of the curriculum that takes place over 12 months. It's really about, looking at your strategy and your vision, mission, and strengths and weaknesses of your firm, looking at your core operations and your finances, then beginning to look at your growth opportunities and putting a plan in place to build upon those growth opportunities. And at the end, you submit a transformation plan, which really speaks to those growth opportunities that you want to leverage and how you're going to fund it, et cetera, et cetera. So that's really the core of the Seed Transformation Program. We're always making changes to it and innovating upon it each year. This is the geographic representation of our participants to date. Again, we started in West Africa, so that's why the numbers are higher there. East Africa, Southern Africa is a bit unique in terms of the mapping. If you're familiar with the African geography, Zimbabwe, Zambia, and Mozambique would be part of Southern Africa. We work with De Beers Group in Southern Africa, and they have us targeting just their supplier countries, which is Namibia, Botswana, and South Africa. So that's why it's ring fenced a little differently in terms of seeds nomenclature. But we're about 1,000 participants, and we're going to be recruiting the next cohort starting in April of this year, which will start next year. And this, in terms of geographic diversity, we're sector agnostic. Again, we're really looking for high potential firms that can maximize an impact. And every country is a little different in terms of what sector can have the most impact in the present and in the future. A lot of our firms are ICT, but you see a lot of diversity otherwise. And we like that. Firms in different sectors learning from each other promote a lot of different learnings and a lot of synergies across sectors, but also within sectors. Gender, I love to see your slide there, Deepti, when you talked about diversity. In addition to geographic and sector diversity, we're always trying to get more women in the program. We're really pleased that we're up to about 30% right now. Stronger representation in East and Southern Africa. We still have some work to do in India and Bangladesh, where we're about 12% in the current cohort. So we're always trying to strive for a more diverse and gender balanced cohort. So again, this is who we're looking for. It's got to be the CEO or the person, the strategic decision maker, who's the main applicant to the program. Most sectors are available. Of course, if you're in the arms trade and harm businesses, we're not going to want to admit you into the program. And we're looking for firms with revenue between $300,000 and $115 million. Of course, we want them to be locally owned because we want that investment to be plowed back into the economies in which we're working in. And our next application opens on April 1st of this year. And you see the address there where you can find the application. But the engagement doesn't stop there with the Seed Transformation Program. As they finish the program, which some of you know, we have a network, which is the alumni program for the Seed Transformation Program. And we have chapters in Nigeria, India, Ghana, Southern Africa, different countries, Kenya, Ethiopia. They're already doing things on their own, these chapters, lobbying the local governments for policy change, CSR programs, training other startup firms. So this is kind of the vision that Bob and Dottie had when we started the program for this to take off on its own, and it's already starting to happen. In addition to that, we continue to offer programs to the companies, the leaders, post Seed Transformation Program. And that's something I wanted to talk to you all about because you might be interested, as Edward has been, serving as a consultant for Seed in the coaching, consulting, or if you're a student at Stanford, you could also do the intern program. The coaching program is a really high touch engagement where before COVID, our coaches went and lived in Kenya and Ghana and India and worked for 5 or 6 firms over a 6-month period to help them implement their transformation program. So we're looking for coaches if that might be something that's interesting to you. It's currently online, but we're planning to reintroduce in-person coaching. And we cover insurance, housing, and travel and so forth. It's really a cost-neutral program because of our impact focus. The consulting program is another program. It's pro bono. You can work remotely from anywhere in the world, and that's what Edward is working on. Rolling applications ongoing, and that's really if you want to do a marketing project, an operations project, or something on financing. There's a portal where the companies apply in a rolling manner, and then we put those projects up and the consultants can come and apply for those projects, and there's a matching, and then you work, for 1 to 6 months with the companies on those projects pro bono. And here's the contact person if you're interested, my colleague Joanna Hulk. If you're interested in either one of those programs, you can reach out to her at jhulk@stanford.edu, and she can answer any questions you have about either one of those programs. We also have an intern program. Again, it's not just about working with entrepreneurs, but encouraging Stanford students to go out and work in emerging markets, to carry them out into the world and build leaders of tomorrow as we're building firms of tomorrow. We had about 80 students intern last year remotely. Normally that's in person. It's an 8 to 10 week period. And again, similar to consulting, it's project-based, but more for students to work on in Nigeria and India and South Africa and so forth. And this was our total internship from last summer, amazing. And it's from undergraduate to graduate, MBAs to PhDs. We have a lot of students, and we do have some working in other markets. We have a build your own internship that some students work on in other emerging markets. And this is the data. We're just kind of putting together our 2021 impact data, and I'll wrap with that. I know I've probably been going on too long and cutting off the time for the next speaker. But we collect data every year from the firms that go through the program. And to continue to be part of the network, you have to submit your data. We had 80% of participants submit data last year, which is pretty amazing, I think. Some of them 7 years out of the program. So 57% of firms have increased revenue. Many of them introduce new products or services, leveraging design thinking, as Dipti was talking about. 60% have increased jobs. 60% have expanded into new geographies, and a lot of that is from them doing business with each other and meeting each other. We're at more than 400 million, approaching $500 million in funds raised in debt and equity by participants. And 40% of them, again, do business with one another. We create those connections across borders and beginning to integrate those previously unintegrated economies. And 195 million lives have been positively impacted by products and services from participants in the SEED transformation program. And this is the total revenue of firms that have gone through our program. And last, we do have a podcast as well. If you'd like to, you can find that on Apple Podcast or Spotify. Grit and Growth. Our executive director, Darius Teeter, interviews entrepreneurs, and they have faculty members from Stanford who participate in the podcast. So it's a fantastic thing, which broadens our audience in terms of what we're doing. So if you'd like to, if you're a podcast listener, check out Grit and Growth. And that's it.
So I'll try to be short. Well, I'm actually 6 foot, but I'm trying to be short. So let's try this. So Misha invited me, I think, because he knows I pitched over maybe like 2,000 times. So I've done that a lot, and had small success. So I raised about 9 rounds. So this is what I'll try to share with you. And this is probably what's going to be useful for you, like from the practical standpoint. So one thing is there is actually no rules, right? You can take Stanford courses, you can take anything, but there is no rules in pitching, very strict rules. It's not an exact science. That being said, there are things which usually work. And for me, it is listen to your intuition. As a founder, so I have over 200 pitch decks. I created different pitch decks for every different person I pitched. Your intuition probably will tell you which pitch deck to use and how to pitch to a particular investor. If you don't have intuition, doesn't matter what you do, you're not going to be a good founder. You're not going to have a good company. Your intuition is what is going to drive you. So this is probably what it is. To me also, so as they mentioned, I work in aviation. We're trying to create a future of aviation. What worked the best for me is actually creating a world. To pitching to investor, as I'm trying to get, I know the world. I, as a founder, live in a world which my product will create. You want investor to be invited into that world, and you together live in that world. You need to understand everything about it. What people are there, how they're interacting with your product, with everything else. What is going on? Keep in mind, if you're pitching something which is not going to work tomorrow, but which is going to work in 5 or 10 years, the world is going to be different. You know, you cannot go where the puck is, you have to go where the puck will be, right? So you have to understand what is going to be there. If you're creating a technology, if you're creating a business, if you're creating a something, you are in this world, and make sure your investor also lives in this world with you together. So I grew up in USSR, and in USSR we had communism, and we were taught that money is bad, working for government is good, and everything is so. So when I came to US, actually faced with the harsh capitalism. The thing which I learned very fast is it's actually more humane. People live in a better condition, And it's actually better from the human point of view, from people to people. And one of the reasons it's actually you guys, it's entrepreneurship. Creating the products which make people's lives better. This is actually what it's all about. By definition, if you create a nice product and somebody buys it, which means they need it, which means you created something good. You do something good for them, right? So whenever you create the products, make sure that you're making the world better, right? You're creating something for make people easier, in my case, to transport people from place A to place B. And this is a horrible problem right now, right? Think about all the frustration about you in traffic, about how you're trying to get there and it's slow and so on, right? So we're trying to make that better. Any product which you create should make the world better. It should make it easier, simpler, and so on. Altogether, it actually should solve the biggest problems, the hunger, the illnesses, and so on, right? You creating these products, they should be solving this. So as you're pitching to investors, you creating that world, which is much better than the world today. So pretty much what you do during a pitch, you take 2022, January 18, and you saying, with my product in 2023, January 18, this is how much better it will be. But you have to understand everything about it. So you know the very famous thing about the fish, right? If you give man a fish, he will not be hungry for one day. If you teach man how to fish, he will not be hungry for life. But if you create a correct business model, the whole village will not be hungry forever. You're not creating your product in a vacuum. We're creating our products we're creating a business model with everything which interacts with us, right? The business model means you're not in a vacuum. You're going to have maybe suppliers, you're going to have customers, you're going to have a lot of different things going on, right? So this is the world where kind of we need to put people. My favorite historical person is actually Thomas Edison. And Thomas Edison, there is a reason why. So some people like him, some people don't like him, especially with Tesla versus Edison and everything. I'm not even going to start on that. But what he did is he may not invented a lot of stuff. For example, the electric lamp, right? It's argumentative from the history point of view who invented what and so on. But if it would not be for Edison, we will not have the electric lighting and so on. We will still have candles. If it would not be for Edison, we would not have movies. He did not invent movies, but if it would not be for him, we would not have it. If it would not be for him, we would not have telephones. So in fact, what I want you to do right now, it's a very simple exercise, which I usually do when I present from the stage. Look around the room, wherever you are in front of you. Almost everything you see is because of Thomas Edison. And the main thing is because the distribution of electricity. Again, he may not invented it, but he was an entrepreneur who created that distribution of electricity. So everything which uses electricity around you, this is because of him. Everything with all the lamps, all the video which we're using right now, right? He was that entrepreneur. And guess what? He pitched to the banks the same way as you do today. What he did 100 years ago, he went to the bankers and told them, imagine the world. Imagine the world in 100 years. So 100 years ago, Thomas Edison imagined to the bankers the exact world which we're living in right now. And I think this is the best advice I can give to create that. So you guys need to create that better world, the better world with better products where people are happier, not hungry, where it's easier to live for them. And you actually need to do that, because if not you, there's nobody who's going to save the world. Thank you, guys.